This is Welcome to the Conversation with Influencers podcast. I'm Richard Lowe, your host, and I'm the writing king. Today I'm with Joe Rockey Jr., who's written a book called Casino Sales Master. And he's going to tell us all about his experience with writing that book and how it went and what he gained from it.
Yeah.
So, Joe, take it away.
Well, thank you. So I like to start with why I feel it's so important to write a book. I mean, because let's face it, there's 1.5 million sales book. There's what, million people going around stages around this country talking about their sales system, why it's special and unique. And don't get me wrong, there's basic foundations of what you need to do to have a sale go successful. You need to know how to conduct a meeting. You need to know how to figure out what the person actually wants, not their surface level lie, but what they actually want. Figure out who makes the decision and how much money they have. You need to know all of that basic criteria whenever you're doing a sale. But what rarely, if ever, gets discussed, because it's really, really hard, is the other side of that coin. Most
Mhm.
people just leave that coin in the ground and pretend you never look over. And the other side of that coin is, well, how do I actually get that person to want to tell me the truth? You know, we're all raised from birth to lie to salespeople. And if you think that's a weird question, like, no, I don't lie to anyone, I'm the greatest person ever. No, you are. Because when you were growing up, you were told, always tell the truth. When you're asked a question by a parent or adult, you tell the truth. But every single time you saw one of your parents get called up or be in a sales environment, the first thing they did was lie.
Mhm.
That's always been the case. That is the legacy and the relationship between sellers and buyers. The first thing you do is you lie. So it doesn't matter what your foundation is. If you don't know how to overcome that, you can't do anything. And then you factor over this other multiplier effect, which is 97% of people don't know how they form their own relationships. It's almost the same way you ride a bike. Just keep pedaling faster and eventually you'll stay up.
Hmm.
Okay. But how do you actually consciously teach someone to do that and how to actually build relationships so I do want to naturally open up to you? You can think right now, there's 3 people in your life that you will just tell anything to without even hesitation thinking. And there's a gajillion people that you would never tell that to. In fact, actually, if you saw them again, they're so skeezy, I don't even want to see them. Yes, that's life.
Right.
You learn how to teach that, you can do the impossible, which is have a casino floor want to pay you. Casinos aren't in the game of giving their money out, but they will if you know how to do these skills correctly. And that's why it's a proven system to beat the odds. Casino Sales Master, proven system to beat the odds in sales and life. So yeah, that's the nutshell of the book, what I think makes it different, why I love about it, and what's exciting with it. Yeah.
Yeah. How many you've written one book and you said you're going to write, you want to write some more down the
Oh,
road?
easily, easily.
Yeah.
So
How was
so
the
so so
experience?
the book became the coaching course.
Okay.
And the reason for it was what I was saying before about this relationship between buyers and sellers of starting with lies, using people. It's all a spillover from the biggest trope in sales that exists, which is the used car salesman. You're not getting off this lot until you leave with the car I want you to. That's the backdrop of every sales. So what happened? We all ran to eBay and Amazon because at least there's not a salesperson involved. I don't have to deal with this crap. I might not be getting any help in buying, but at least I'm not dealing with that. Okay. The problem is when people want to buy something that's important to them, not necessarily expensive, but important, they do want to talk to a salesperson. This is why you've never seen a successful engagement store online. It's impossible because I want to talk to the person, make sure I know what's getting right. So there is a natural need for salespeople. It's the most important industry in the economy. And when we look at this, we just need to teach people how to do it right. Teach people how to do it with a quality set of relationship skills. And that's why the coaching course was born out of it. In fact, actually, I had the vision of fixing this problem through the coaching course before I wrote the book. And then
Mhm.
that's how it all kind of came to pass. You asked me the question about future books, all right. I've built 27 different businesses in my life. I know what I'm doing. One of the things is I've been bought out or I'm an absentee owner for all of them. That's what the consultancy firm does. And that's what the next book will be, how to transform your business to be able to operate without you. But that's still down the road.
Well, that sounds like a very interesting thing to do. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm enjoying being a ghostwriter. I like writing books for people.
Mm-hmm.
And now I didn't help you write your book, but it would be the kind of book that I'd be looking for, somebody who's starting a business and who wants to use the book as a marketing tool to help them gain their goals, whatever their goal
Mhm.
is. So if your goal is to get venture capital, a book can do that because you can use it as credibility for the venture capitalists. If your goal is to get on a TED Talk, a book can do that. A book is the perfect tool for that. I have 2 clients who've done that.
Mhm.
If your goal is to leave yourself a memoir for your children, that's a different market. And
Mhm.
those are, I've done a few of those. Those are interesting to write because you find out a lot of things. Usually they're painful to write too. So those are a different kind of book.
Mhm.
So when I talk to potential clients, what we do is we go through, what do you want from the book? And we
Mhm.
talk about the what and then how the book achieves that for them. So what does the book do for them to help further their goal? And that that's the important thing about books is they're not, you don't just want to write a book and then sit on the
Mhm.
coffee table. I mean, maybe you do, but people don't spend good money to put it on the coffee table normally unless they're a senior looking for a legacy or somebody looking for a
Or
legacy.
even that, they don't want it. They want it to be absorbed by their family. They might not
They-
care if the masses absorb it, but they have a target audience that should suck it into them.
right, right. But you may want to use it to get speaking engagements.
Mhm.
That's a perfectly valid goal. And I have quite a few authors of mine. They're the authors, I'm the writer, so that's the terminology, who have used their book to get $10,000 speaking gigs. And
Oh yeah,
they just go around the country and they'll do, 20 or 30 of those a year. And they're making a pretty good living just
sure.
flying around the country talking to people. And that's what their book was for. What did they
Yeah.
get? They got that. And then getting press, the press really likes seeing books. So if you've got a
Mhm.
book under your name, your book will help you get into the press because you can
Mhm.
always put that on your press releases. I'm an author of this book, and you can say it's a bestseller if it sold a certain number of copies.
Mhm.
The big lists don't really exist anymore. They do, but they're bought now, so they
Yeah.
don't really matter. Yeah, there's no more of I sold 50,000 copies and I got on this list. It's here's $100,000, put me on the list.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. That part became apparent when they started reaching out to me. Yeah.
Right, right. But you get on Amazon and you sell you get to the top of category in a couple categories, then you're a bestseller.
Mhm.
Um, and that could be as little as 1,000 books. It could be 50,000. I sold 15,000 copies of one of my books. I'm a bestseller.
Mhm.
I sold 15,000 copies in 3 days. So it sold pretty well. And
Yeah.
and
I,
I've done
I
that twice.
so I what I love about what you're getting to here is that you can really go to any direction with
Right.
the book. And to get outside of just talking about mine, but just having a book in general is that it's what you got to get through it, because if you do this on your own, which is the difference between what I did versus what Richard provides here, is that there are moments that you just don't want to do it anymore. It is unless you're a natural writer and you're doing this all the time, which I am not. Um, there's times that it feels that I've been pushing this boulder up this hill for a year and a half. I don't know if it's ever going to get done, and it's like, do I really want to do this? So personally, I'm a speaker. I do public speaking, professional speaking around this country. I dictated my book, and then I go and put it into Google Translate to start turning it into Word format, text format. And the way you talk and the way you write are night and day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's like there was so much process going into taking what was a pretty good speech and turning it into an immaculate book, was a lot of time and energy. And I
Mhm.
outsourced the editing and it still took forever. So you got to know that what you're going to get out of it and know what it is. And this is one of the important things. Just this is a life discussion to frame it is each generation has gotten it wrong about what the goal of life was. Go way back in time, it used to be power. Whoever has the most power is going to have the
Right.
happiest life. And then it was, well, then whoever has the most money has the happiest life, because that was really the key to power. Money equals power. Then you go a couple generations forward, and then it became time. If I just had more time in my life, I'll have the happiest life ever. Well, that's not really true ever. Now it's fame. If I can have 300,000 followers,
Mhm.
I will be the happiest person ever. And that's not true ever. What really is going to be the byproduct is the quality of your relationships. That's always been the answer, by
Right.
the way. And it always has been true. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how much time you have, it's the quality of the relationships when you're together. And I bring that up because of that is the backing behind your what you want to achieve. So if you're a CEO and you want to go from just I was a coach, I'll use NFL coaches because those are CEOs. The head coach of an NFL team is a CEO. So if you're a defensive coordinator out there and you want to be noticed, but you're not the hot ticket item right now because every other team is selecting offensive coaches, but I'm a defensive specialist.
Right.
Well, how could I get myself recognized? You probably don't have enough time to go do a giant personal media campaign because the hiring season for coaches is about 3 days long. So you already got to have something out there. You don't have time, but you have knowledge. You know how to get your team to be the best defense in the league. How can I go and write a book to get myself there? That's a pathway because you don't have to spend all the time and the energy when you're working with someone like Richard. It's like, boom, couple of conversations, we can do that. And then boom, next thing I know, now my book is on every decision maker's desk, every board of directors decision I'm able to give it to before their decision maker. And does that mean that I sold a ton of books and I made a ton of money on the sale of the book? No, that wasn't the goal. The goal was to put myself out there for an opportunity to get the real job that I want. And that's what a book can give. So I give that as an example to all defensive coordinators out there as a free answer. But it doesn't matter your industry, really. If you want to go up to the highest echelon, people have to first know you exist. And let's face it, we live in a world where people don't know how to look for anything anymore. Your phone gives you all your answers. You just scroll a little bit more, it comes up. So either your platform has to love you, unlikely, or B, you have to have an aggressive way of getting a powerful message to them. That's why I wrote my book. And that's why at the end of the day, I wish I would have hired someone like Richard to have done it for me, because it is a monumental, time-consuming effort. And my personality type is not the kind to sit behind a cubicle or in front of a computer and write. Mine is to be what you said before. Get on that plane, go talk to people, go make a difference. And that's what I love doing. So Richard, I'm sorry if I just kind of made this whole thing about you. And if that's not the direction you wanted to take the show, sorry, but I felt it was such an important topic to put out there.
Well, no, it is an important topic because it can change your life. It can change the lives of the people around you. If you have a charity, a book can help you get donations. Whatever your goal is, having that book can get you where you want to go. And now a book could be on a paper, it could be hardcover, it could be audiobooks. I do recommend audiobooks because half my sales are audiobooks. It could be any medium you want. And that's usually determined by your audience. So if your audience is people who are on the go, then audiobooks are the way to do it. If your audience is different, then maybe paperbacks.
So out of curiosity, how big is the audiobook market?
I don't know how big it is. I do know it's huge.
Okay, so but is it comparable to the written market? A little bit more, way less? What
I would, off the top of my head, I would say, well, I know more than half my sales come from my audiobooks. I've got 27.
Okay. So basically, if there's someone out there who wrote a book but did not do the audiobook version of it, you could help them with that.
They're throwing away 50% of their income.
50% of their income, 50% of the person who could reach out to them better. And the reason I ask is because, obviously podcasts are huge.
Right.
There's a lot of studies that say people don't even watch Netflix anymore. They listen to it. Same with a lot of YouTube content. So if that's the direction people are going, for anyone who already is an author, will you do an audiobook for someone that you didn't write?
I will help. I also offer book coaching. So I will help them get through that process. It's not necessarily an easy process, but I would help them find a speaker who can speak the book and help them get it published on Amazon or wherever they want it published, and then talk to them about promoting it and what they do with it and things like that. So that would all be done as a book coach rather than a ghostwriter. And I offer that service too.
And that's so important. I mean, obviously, it doesn't matter what direction you're in. If you know how to take your product and take it to a different level than just the perception sees it, it makes it so much more powerful. Like, for example, cereal is all basically the same. You put it in a bowl, you eat it with milk, and your kids have a good breakfast.
It's sugar, flour, and a couple things, and that's it.
But what did Rice Krispies figure out? You melt a couple marshmallows, and now you have a completely different product because now you have Rice Krispie treats. No, every other, you can do it with literally any cereal, all of them. but the only one you
And
think of is Rice Krispie treats.
and then you have a bunny on the cover, and suddenly it becomes a whole new product. I forget the one, the Energizer
The
Bunny
tricks, yeah.
for batteries.
But that's exactly it. Is being able to look at especially the assets you already have and how to make them better.
Mhm.
It is remarkable.
Mm.
And I think the term coaching gets. Oh, sorry. Um,
No, I just wanted to say, and your best asset is that.
oh, your brain, yeah, and being able to get outside of the box. And I
Yeah.
get that. I just use the term coaching and out of the box, and those are like cliche as can be because I think that quite frankly they're watered down from what they really are. What it
Right.
is taking an outside perspective of what you already have and how to use it better. Because we are the trap of our own bodies and the trap of our own minds. We know how we got here and how we do everything. So because of that, we tend to be in a rather narrow framework of all the possibilities. Kind of think of it as if the circle is 360 degrees. You're facing forward. You could probably only see about the 90 degrees in front of you. Well, there's 270 behind you and to the sides of you that an outside perspective can see. And if we just shifted our focus a little bit and went to there, dude, there's a gold mine over there instead of a barren swamp. Like, which direction do you want to be going? And sometimes it's just that straightforward, just a little turn and correction from an outside opinion. The fear with that is, do I really want to spend money? Because there's no guarantee there's a gold mine over there. The gold, that might just be more swamp. That might just be a forest that, yeah, there's probably something in it, but I don't want to put the effort to go through it. That's a risk whenever you're talking about any engagement of hiring anyone. This plumber might be able to clean out my toilet. He might not. He might tell me I need an entirely new pipe and I have to rip out my entire house. That's a possibility. But do you want your water keep back flowing or do you want to do something about it?
Right.
And
Right.
this is the general problem of life. Do I want to keep hitting barriers and just accept that's my lot? My dumb luck. It doesn't really let me do anything. Or do you want to push through it? And that's part of why I love that you're targeting the CEO community that wants to become higher level CEOs,
Mhm.
because in general, we're the type of people that will fight through it. And that little bit of grit is why you win championships and why you progress in this world.
Yeah. I have a fear of heights. So, and I've always believed, don't get out of the box, just get rid of the box. Why do you need box? Why do you need a box? So, every once in a while, I say, okay, I'm going to defeat this fear. So I go to a hot air balloon and I tell the guy, I want to defeat this fear of heights. And they look at me like, oh no, he's going to be one of those. And I'm using them as a guide.
Mhm.
They know hot air balloons. They're going to make sure I don't fall because lawsuits and stuff, at least. And they don't want me to fall. So they help me in and I've gone up in hot air balloons quite a few times. I'm still terrified of them, but, and that's when you have a fear of something that you're trying to achieve, find the right guide. I do spelunking. That's going in cave. Same thing. The guy, he's gonna, or woman, last one was a woman, is gonna help me through that cave, even though there's 1,000 feet of rock over me that could fall any second, and there's little critters in there crawling around. You can feel them sometimes. Um,
Oh,
yeah. So I don't like fear. I don't necessarily want to live in fear. I really don't want to. And I use other people's skills to help me overcome those. And that's what I do for people as a ghostwriter is you have a fear of maybe succeeding, or maybe you
mhm.
have a fear of breaking into this industry or meeting people. Well, I can help you write the book that can get you in front of the people that you need to see to make your business grow.
That's exactly it. And I love that you use that analogy because I first off, when you were saying the story about how I had attacked my fear, I thought you were going to jump out of a plane to get rid of the box. So it was going to flow in there perfectly. But then you pick something scarier because to me, jumping out of a plane, yeah, that's got to be a rush and fun, but it's got to be a whole lot scarier being stuck there, being stuck in the air balloon and with all the height around you, and you only go down when they feel like you're going down. Like the jumping out of a plane, it's like, all right, we're getting closer every second. I mean, now the whole fear is, do I open this thing up? But that's either going to take care of itself or it ain't. So
Right.
that's how I thought of that. But the biggest fear, and this is kind of underlying in all those different examples you said, that is truly the relationship crux that keeps people from regressing in their relationships and keeps people from selling well. And that ultimately is the fear of vulnerability. Like, this might not go the way I want. I might be exposed in some way that could hurt me. And that is a colossally real fear, especially the higher you get up in the success platform, because all of us know that we got far in this area of this life. But again, like that same analogy before, there's things in this part of my life that I don't want people to talk about. I don't want them to know about this stuff over here or over here.
Mm-hmm.
So you get very fearful and defensive that might come up. And the truth is that we can detect that in each other really, really easily. You can walk down the street, and if you saw Arnold Schwarzenegger, you would be able to instantly tell that's a powerful man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the same thing is true. Is like, I can tell if I'd be able to connect with them or if they would take advantage of me.
If
So
I saw if I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger on the street, I would walk up to him, try because he probably has guards,
mhm.
and talk to him and ask him if he wants me to help him write his next book.
That's awesome. See that's perfect. But nonetheless, you'd look at him and go, he's a physically strong, powerful person.
He is a presence.
Exactly. And from the emotional standpoint, we all have that. But none of us really consistently work on drills to make us so that we are more inviting, so that we are more trusting. And that's what I do in my coaching course, my book, is I teach people those drills so that now people in my life just start telling me things that otherwise they wouldn't. This in our conversation here, we're talking about the essence of your business and who's going to benefit from you. How many of your guests have you been willing to open up and share this type of content with? And I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but that's an example of what happens when you're not afraid of being vulnerable and the other side naturally trust you. Richard, we've met each other, what, probably tens of times now virtually. We've never been
Virtually.
in the same room together, but
No,
that still was able to happen.
may never be in the same room together, but
It's
that's
possible.
fine. That's fine.
Power of the internet, right?
But leading into that, when you're in a cave, 700 or 800 feet under the ground, and the only thing that's going to get you out of the cave is that person who you hired to guide you through it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's dark and you can't see anything, and little critters are all over you. And the thing is, like when you were talking about jumping out of a plane, it's like, why did I put myself here? For the experience, for the relationship with the guide, for the knowledge that I gained, for the knowing that I overcome the vulnerability. And that brings strength.
Mm-hmm.
That made me a lot stronger. And I was in the middle of a forest fire when I was younger, and some rangers got me out. And literally, there was fire all around me. And the rangers came in and got me out. They did a water drop, like right on top of me. And once you go through that, it's like, okay, hurricane. I don't want to tempt fate here, but I've been through stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Earthquakes a
Yeah,
thing.
what you're talking about is overcoming the natural fight or flight mechanism that we all have.
Right.
And many people know that feeling, and it scares the hell out of them. They never want to do it again. That's why
Right.
they avoid conflict, or
Right.
that's why they try to put themselves in a protective bubble. But like anything else, it's a reflex, it's a muscle, whatever terminology you want to use. But if you embrace it and lean into it, it is massively empowering. That's probably the best word for it. I think people use the word empowering really wrong, especially in politics. But this is a way to have mastery over yourself, is that you put yourself in a stressful environment, you chose to do it, and you're not freaking out by it. You might
Well,
not get the outcome you wanted. You might get, one of those critters might bite you and you might have to, put a band-aid on.
yeah.
But you also might go, you know what? I got this. Doesn't mean you're becoming Batman because the bats are flying around you, but there's a lot of in between that's positive.
Well, then I used to hike in Joshua Tree. When my wife passed away, I used to go hiking and photographing to get rid of the grief, and that worked very well. So I'd hike in Joshua Tree, and one time I got lost, and I didn't have a guide. And I got lost for like hours, and I'm in the middle of Joshua Tree. There's nobody around, and I thought, I've been through stuff. I can get out of this. And all I did was stop and listen, and I could hear way in the distance the road.
Mhm.
And some kids screaming, whatever. Like, okay, that way. Oops, there's a canyon there. How do I get around that? Keep my eye on the goal, even though there's a canyon and there's a cougar and there's coyotes and snakes, literally.
Mhm.
By the time evening arrived, and I needed to get out before evening arrived because it gets cold, I did. So it was the knowledge that had overcome things that let me go. And that's one thing a book can do. It can be
Mhm.
terrifying to write a book. Oh, you're spending a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of effort to write the book. Even if you're writing on your own, believe me, it's a tough thing. I write 10 or 15 a year,
Mhm.
and those it's tough, every one of them. If you're familiar with Greek legend, there's a guy named Sisyphus, and he would roll a rock up the hill, and then before he got to the top, it'd roll back down, and he's doing this
Mhm.
for all eternity. That's what it feels like.
It
But
did.
but yeah, but I do that for you. I do that for you. You have to be involved.
Sure.
I got to interview you. I got to talk to you. You're the knowledge expert. I got to get your knowledge. Um, but I mean, I write books on everything from the expert in blockchain to an expert in the metaverse to an expert in cleaning
Mhm.
to an old guy who was a Vietnam vet and wanted to document his experiences in Vietnam. That was a tough one to write. To a woman who had things done to her that I don't even want to talk about in public.
Mhm.
Um, and she wrote it in her book. And I helped her through that. I told her I'm not your therapist, but we had to deal with stuff because it comes up because she's talking about her life.
Yeah.
That's one of the roles that I play as your ghostwriter is I will get you through the whole process of writing the book and if necessary, kick your butt to make sure that the book is done and done so that it produces the result that you want
Mhm.
and probably more. One of the first books I wrote, he got $30 million of venture cap from the book. He didn't plan to do that. He just wanted to write a book so he could get a promotion. and he got the promotion. He wanted the CEO wound up writing his forward. He was in libraries. This is one of my first ghostwritten books. I think it was number two.
Mhm.
So I was nervous as hell. And he got $30 million of venture cap and started his own company. It's like, and he was wow, he overcame that fear, and I helped him through it. And because it was my first or second book, he helped me through it too a little bit.
Well,
And
sure. Yeah.
and
Well,
we
that's like every relationship has both sides going through it together. I mean, that's the
yeah.
important part of it. And you didn't mean to do this, but you just outlined what is actually a successful coach versus a drop template. I just put you through a system, and you better come out the right way. And that dynamic element of being able to listen, work in ultimate environments. That's what always kills me. Is like I'm a coach, but I'm only for tech entrepreneurs. Well, that means you're not really a coach. You have a system that works in this tiny of a niche, and you just figured out where that puzzle piece fits. There's
Mhm.
800 other puzzle pieces on this board, but you're only able to do that one. You're not really a coach. This is why the term coach has gotten so watered down.
Yeah.
Personal digression. Sorry for
It's
tangent.
okay. I mean, what I do is I say, okay, your puzzle piece is this one here. Let's take that puzzle piece and let's expand it into a story. That's what I do is
Yeah.
create
Well,
stories.
and that's what you're saying you're doing. I'm a good coach. I know that based upon my skills that that I can work with your puzzle piece. I can work with this one, this one, this one, because I can work with every industry because I know the truth of what it is that you want. Now, granted, your backstory, you know how to draw up a zone blitz, you know how to get through Vietnam, you know how to be the CEO of your world. Those are all different. But that's not what we're trying to achieve here. What we're trying to achieve is your mission, and I know how to get that done. And that's
Right.
that's the element of being a successful coach that, like I said, that's what a true coach is.
Right.
If you're not a what's it called, mad blocks, where you just put the pre-written script, you just put a couple words in here and here and there, and then it comes out. You're not a heartless AI. You're actually knowing the person, knowing their goals, and more importantly, you have the experience to get them from A to B, and then take them to D that they didn't even know exist. And that's why I love about talking. That's why I was going to become a guest on your show. I mean, I've been on 2,500 different stages in my life. I don't do every podcast I get asked to do, but I did want to be on yours because I love what it is that you do.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And to segue into that, what differentiates me from other ghostwriters and why I charge the rates that I do is that I don't just write you a book. Lots of
Mhm.
people can do that. What I do is what we just talked about is I make sure or do my best to make sure that you will achieve with this book what you want to achieve. So if your goal is, like I said, speaking, if your goal is, you know, getting venture cap, if your goal is getting known by Arnold Schwarzenegger, I can't really achieve that, but I can try. We'll write the book that gets you what you need or what you want from, and maybe more from your goals. Because in reality, you're not paying for a book. I mean, unless it's a legacy memoir for your kids,
Mhm.
you're paying for, well, even then, you're paying for somebody else to gain something from that book and
Yeah,
come back to you and help you do what you need to do.
yeah, yeah, and I would imagine I that regardless of which topic you're going for, yeah, you probably even could do something as specialized as I want to have Arnold Schwarzenegger become my best friend. You probably can do that. It's a much more focused approach. It's the same thing as if you like your venture cap guy. He wanted the promotion within his own industry. You knew how to write and do that. So it's not that it's just a slightly different delivery mechanism of how we're going to get it to the
Right.
right target. Um, and on that note, your analysis of Seth is pushing the boulder up the hill and having a fall, dude. That's 100% real. I didn't work with Richard. I should have, but I didn't. Because I had that feeling of it crushing me, not just falling down and rolling next to me and being all sad that I got to go back down there, but me actually getting rolled over. Like I was the Kylie
Hmm.
Coyote taking this thing all the way down to the bottom of the hill. Um, and there's moments where it's like, is this even going to be worth it? And for me personally, the only thing that drove me through it was I'm not burning the last 2 years I've put into this process. I'm getting something out of this, damn it. And might be the right answer, might not, but that's what I did. And ultimately, I believed in the vision of what we're going to be, teach relationship skills, and life will be better. Um, but that's really, like I said, what you're going to experience when you go through that book. And the fear that a lot of people have is when I do a full length book, this isn't a 20-minute in and out. This isn't a YouTube Reels or a YouTube Short or a Facebook Reels. There's going to actually be content here. I'm going to be known. I'm going to be
Hmm.
exposed a little bit here, and have you as that guide of saying, all right, there are parts of you that we need to show the world, but we don't need to get into this deep, dark corner that you don't want to talk about from when you were 4 years old. Like, we don't need to go there. We're going to go about the part that it goes to achieve your goal and your mission. And oh, by the way, the other stuff that's along the way that you might think that's important or might not, we're actually going to have a discussion about to see if it is. So everything is a multiplier effect or at least builds upon itself rather than having a random aside being like, I thought we were over here. Like what happened? So that's the goal of joy, rather, of hiring a successful guide and coach like you, which again, I
Right.
wish I would have done the first time.
Well, maybe you'll do the next time.
That's the plan.
Yes. So anyway, we're running out of time. I am Richard Lowe. I am the Writing King, and you can find me at thewritingking.com. This has been the Conversations with Influencers podcast, and as you can tell, I found a great guest. And why don't you give a little bit of where can we find you, Joe?
Yeah, so the easiest way to find me is casinosalesmaster.com. That's how you can get access to the coaching course.
Mhm.
Obviously, if you want me for any other purpose, speaking on your stage, etc., the easiest route, you can go through there. You can go through LinkedIn. You can go through the 6 other websites that we have. But the easiest way is Casino Sales Master, which is right here. And then my coaching logo, joerockey.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.